The law of attraction in the thought world. The universe is governed by law, one great law. Its manifestations are multiform, but viewed from the ultimate there is but one law. We are familiar with some of its manifestations, but are almost totally ignorant of certain others. Still we are learning a little more every day. The veil is being gradually lifted. We speak knowledgeably of the law of gravitation, but then ignore that equally wonderful manifestation, the law of attraction in the thought world. We are familiar with that wonderful manifestation of law which draws and holds together the atoms of which matter is composed. We recognize the power of the law that attracts bodies to the earth, that holds the circling worlds in their places, but we close our eyes to the mighty law of attraction that draws to us the things we desire or fear, that makes or limits our lives. When we come to see that thought is a force, a manifestation of energy, having a magnet-like power of attraction, we will begin to understand the why and wherefore of many things that have heretofore seemed dark to us. There is no study that will so well repay the student for their time and trouble as the study of the workings of this mighty law of the world of thought, the law of attraction. Whenever we think a thought, we are sending out vibrations which are as real as the vibrations manifesting light, heat, electricity, magnetism. That these vibrations are not evident to our five senses is no proof that they do not exist. A powerful magnet will send out vibrations and exert a force sufficient to attract to itself a piece of steel weighing 100 pounds, but we can neither see, taste, smell, hear nor feel the mighty force. These thought vibrations, likewise, cannot be seen, tasted, smelled, heard, nor felt in the ordinary way, although it is true there are on record case studies of persons peculiarly sensitive to psychic impressions who have perceived powerful thought waves. Also, many of us can testify that we have distinctly felt the thought vibrations of others, both while in the presence of the sender and also at a distance. Telepathy and its kindred phenomena are not idle dreams. Light and heat are manifested by vibrations of a far lower intensity than those of thought, but the difference is solely in the rate of vibration. The records of science throw an interesting light upon this question. Professor Elisha Gray, an eminent scientist, says in his little book, The Miracles of Nature, or Nature's Miracles, there is much food for speculation in the thought that there exist sound waves that no human ear can hear, and color waves of light that no eye can see. The long, dark, soundless space between 40,000 and 400 trillion vibrations per second, and the infinity of range beyond 700 trillion vibrations per second, where light ceases, in the universe of motion, makes it possible to indulge in speculation. M. Williams, in his work entitled, Short Chapters in Science, says, there is no gradation between the most rapid undulations or tremblings that produce our sensation of sound, and the slowest of those which give rise to our sensations of gentlest warmth. There is a huge gap between them, wide enough to include another world of motion, all lying between our world of sound and our world of heat and light, and there is no good reason whatever for supposing that matter is incapable of such intermediate activity, or that such activity may not give rise to intermediate sensations, provided there are organs for taking up and sensifying their movements. I cite the above authorities merely to give you food for thought, not to attempt to demonstrate to you the fact that thought vibrations exist. The last named fact has been fully established to the satisfaction of numerous investigators of the subject, and a little reflection will show you that it coincides with your own experiences. We often hear repeated the well-known mental science statement, thoughts are things, and we say these words over without consciously realizing just what is the meaning of the statement. If we fully comprehended the truth of the statement and the natural consequences of the truth back of it, we should understand many things which have appeared unclear to us, and would be able to use the wonderful power, thought force, just as we use any other manifestation of energy. As I have said, when we think we then set thought vibrations into motion at a very high degree, just as real as the vibrations of light, heat, sound, electricity. And when we understand the laws governing the production and transmission of these vibrations, we will be able to use them in our daily life, just as we do the better known forms of energy. Even though we cannot see, hear, weigh, or measure these vibrations is not proof that they do not exist. There exist waves of sound which no human ear can hear, although some of these are undoubtedly registered by the ear of some of the insects, and others are caught by delicate scientific instruments invented by humans, yet there is a great gap between the sounds registered by the most delicate instrument and the limit which our mind, reasoning by analogy, knows to be the boundary line between sound waves and some other forms of vibration. And there are light waves which human eyes do not register, some of which may be detected by more delicate instruments, and many more so fine that the instrument has not yet been invented which will detect them, although improvements are being made every year and the unexplored field gradually lessened. As new instruments are invented, new vibrations are registered by them. And yet the vibrations were just as real before the invention of the instrument as afterward. Supposing that we had no instruments to register magnetism, one might be justified in denying the existence of that particular mighty force, because it could not be tasted, felt, smelt, heard, seen, weighed, or measured. And yet the mighty magnet would still send out waves of force sufficient to draw to it pieces of steel weighing hundreds of pounds. Each form of vibration requires its own form of instrument for action. At present the human brain seems to be the only instrument capable of registering thought waves, although metaphysicians say that in this century, scientists will invent ways to catch and register such impressions. To those who have experimented along the lines of practical telepathy, no further proof is required than the results of their own experiments. Not only do our thought waves influence ourselves and others, but they have a drawing power. They attract to us the thoughts of others, things, circumstances, people, luck, in accord with the character of the thought uppermost in our minds. We are sending out thoughts of greater or lesser intensity all the time. And we are reaping the results of such thoughts. Not only do our thought waves influence ourselves and others, but they have a drawing power. They attract to us the thoughts of others, things, circumstances, people, luck, in accord with the character of the thought uppermost in our minds. Thoughts of love will attract to us the love of others, circumstances and surroundings in accord with the thought, people who are of like thought. Thoughts of anger, hate, envy, malice, and jealousy will draw to us the foul results of kindred thoughts emanating from the minds of others. Those who think vile thoughts of others will receive them in turn from others. A strong thought, or a thought long continued, will make us the center of attraction for the corresponding thought waves of others. Like attracts like. In the thought world, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. Birds of a feather flock together in the thought world. Curses, like chickens, come home to roost, and they bring their friends with them. Like attracts like in the thought world, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. The person who is filled with love will then see love everywhere, and will attract the love of others. The person with hate in their heart will then get all the hate they can stand. One who thinks fight generally runs up against all the fight they want before they get through. And so it goes, each gets what they call for over the wireless telegraphy of the mind. The one who rises in the morning feeling grumpy usually manages to have the whole family in the same mood before the breakfast is over. The nagging person generally finds enough to further gratify the nagging propensity during the day. This matter of thought attraction is a serious one. When you stop to think about it, you will see that we really make our own surroundings. Although we sometimes blame others for it, I have known people who understood this law to hold a positive, calm thought and be absolutely unaffected by the negativity surrounding them. They were like the vessel from which the oil had been poured on the troubled waters. They rested safely and calmly whilst the tempest raged around them. One is not at the Mercy of the fitful storms of thought after they have learned the workings of the law. We have passed through the age of physical force onto the age of intellectual supremacy, and we are now entering a new and almost unknown field, that of psychic power. This field of energy has its established laws, as well, just as the other fields have, and we should acquaint ourselves with these laws, or we will be lost in the crowded area with those who don't understand how the law works. I will try to make these great underlying principles of this new field of energy, which are opening up before us, plain to you. This way, you may be able to make use of this great power, and then apply it for legitimate and worthy purposes.